Success is found in your daily routine. If you don't have your routine dialed in, you're bound for failure. That's why in this video, I share 5 weekly habits for success. These habits have exploded my sales career, helped me earn millions of dollars, and helped me to rebuild my life. Let's dive in. My name is Ryan. Welcome to the Street Leadership Channel, where we empower leaders to overcome adversity, increase their revenue, and scale their business. The first one is you have to commit to growing your sales skills every single week. That could be reading books. It could be listening to a podcast, by watching this YouTube channel. One of my favorite books that I was given when I first started in sales was The Greatest Salesman in the World. And to this day, it was a book that absolutely changed my life. And in that book, there's 10 principles that will help you to transform your life, especially if you're just getting started in sales. Another one of my personal favorites is The Magic of Thinking Big, which gets you to start thinking bigger and what's possible for your life. Most of us, when we're just getting started in sales, we're conditioned to have been told what we're worth and how much money we can make. And we're not necessarily taught how to think big. And the reality is when you get started in sales, there's no longer a cap on your commissions or the amount of money that you're able to earn. And so as you start to think bigger, you'll start to earn bigger. I have a list of 25 sales books that I think you'll love. I've attached that. Click the link in the description below, and that'll take you right to the list. Committing to growing your sales skills is the single greatest thing you can do to increase your income. But it's something that you have to commit to every single week. As you commit to the process, not only is your income and your confidence going to rise, but your ability to be able to influence others. The second one is you have to practice your sales skills. Repetition is ultimately the mother of skill. The more that you do something, the better you're going to get at it, especially over time. One of the single greatest things you can do to start working on your sales skills is to do role playing. Get in the habit of practicing your pitch over and over and over again. And not only could you practice your pitch, you could practice the introduction, you could practice the presentation side of it, you could practice the rebuttals or the objections, you could practice the closing. As you get better at each of those areas, your sales skills is going to improve and your closing is going to improve, which means that you're ultimately going to start making more money. Find a mentor, find a buddy, or find somebody in a sales group that you can pair up with, and or somebody who's in a similar industry as you, and find a way to be able to start practicing with somebody who can give you some constructive feedback. You know, one of the things that we encourage all of our agents to do is to come in early and work on their role playing with their manager or the top salesperson from the day before. Once again, sales is a transferable skill, and all you have to do is figure out, okay, what's working and how do I implement that myself to be able to get the same results? And if you're able to do that and you commit to the process of practicing and developing your sales skills, your income is going to explode. The third habit is you actually have to implement the sales skills. It's one thing to know things intellectually. It's another thing to actually do the work. This is where most salespeople struggle the most, is they know what to do, but they don't always follow through with action. You have to be willing to put the work in. You know, one of our core values at our company is discipline, and it's we do the work. You know, for you, maybe it's working from 10 to 7 or 10 to 8 or 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are for you specifically, but don't shortcut the shortcut. Sales is the shortcut to working a 9 to 5 job or working for somebody else. But it takes a certain level of discipline to be able to discipline yourself to do what you need to do. It never makes sense to me when I see people who don't work as hard for themselves as they would for somebody else. Ultimately in sales, you are working for yourself. You know, most of the time it's commission only, and if you don't sell, you're not making money. If you knew that every day you have the potential to make $500 or $1,000 a day, what's stopping you? The only thing that gets in our way is us. And so knowing something intellectually is a lot different than actually but doing the work is what's ultimately going to transform your life. The two other habits that I want to talk about are your life habits. It may vary depending on what stage of life you're at, and maybe it applies to you and maybe it doesn't. Eventually, you're probably going to find yourself in a relationship or having kids, and relationships are ultimately the juice of life. And you can make a ton of money, sacrifice your family for success, and ultimately it's just going to leave you broken in the end. And I can speak from my own personal experience in that. And so the fourth habit that I want to talk about is really prioritizing time with your spouse or your significant other. Have all the money in the world, but if you lose your marriage or your relationship, did it really matter? So ultimately it comes down to making sure that you're prioritizing the people in your life that are most important to you. And so for me, that's my spouse. Actually, I'm getting married this weekend. And every single week, no matter what, we always prioritize each other and we always go on a date. No matter how busy life gets, with the kids, no matter how busy life gets with work, we make time for each other. Make sure that you're prioritizing the time that's necessary to nurture your relationship. Remember why you got started in sales to begin with. And usually most of us get started because, not only do we want to create an income for ourselves, but usually we have people that we want to take care of and provide for. And that brings me to the last one. You got to make sure you all prioritize your kids as well. For me, when I first got started in sales, it was I didn't have kids, I didn't have a relationship. And so I was very focused on myself and making money. And that was really where my top priority was. Through the process, I eventually found myself in a relationship, ended up having kids. And even though I had this relationship with kids, I didn't prioritize them. The business always came first. And it ended up destroying my relationship. I had this, vision that success was this Wolf of Wall Street type lifestyle where you make a lot of money and you party, and that's what success was to me. And I became addicted to drugs and alcohol. I ruined the relationship that I had at the time, and I even ended up losing custody of my kids. Luckily, by the grace of God, I was able to get my life back together, and through that process, I realized, it doesn't matter how much success you have in the world if you lose your kids and your family as a result of it. And so you got to find time to make sure that you're prioritizing your kids, putting them first. And it's not just I drove them to school and dropped them off, but you got to be really intentional with building that relationship and that connection. And relationships are really the juice of life. Okay? It doesn't matter how much money you make. If you lose the people that are closest to you, you will always have a feeling of regret and brokenness inside of you. This is why I've created all these videos to help you and mentor you the same way that Tony Robbins has mentored me. And one of those videos, a lesson that I wish a brother or father had taught me, and really how to prioritize your life. Go ahead and click the next video, and I'll see you there.